Thank you all for joining another TipHaus Insider webinar. If this is your first time joining, this is a series that we run where we will often interview restaurant owners and operators, chat through the TipHaus system and solutions, and in general learn a lot about industry knowledge as we go through it. So thank you all for jumping in. Today's topic, we're going to be covering ditching cash and embracing digital tip payouts that actually work for the hospitality industry. If you don't know me already, my name is Kirk Grogan. I am the co-founder and COO over here at TipHaus, and it's a pleasure to have you all with us. Few quick housekeeping rules that we always like to cover here. So, first and foremost, there is a live chat and a Q&A. We do have moderators on, so if you have things that you need, please shoot over those messages and questions. Additionally, with that, please feel free to ask your questions at any time. I will come through and answer those towards the very end, but we love having some engagement. Anything that strikes your fancy that you don't think I explained well or that prompted some additional questions, please go ahead and throw it in that question box and I will get to it at the very end of this webinar. Next, we are recording. We always will record these and share these to all attendees afterwards. So if you have tech troubles, if as many restaurant operators do, you're wearing a million hats every single day, something comes up and you have to jump and go handle that, please do. We will share this with you so you don't miss anything and you can catch up on it on your own time later in the afternoon or evening. Lastly, we do have a lot of resources that we keep available. So if you've got a phone handy, we do provide QR codes, and then in the documentation and video recording that goes out afterwards, you'll have another chance to see it. But we'll talk about some upcoming webinars. We'll talk about some of our new product features and things of that nature as well, so you can stay in touch. And last, but certainly not least, every webinar we hold here, we will always give a $50 Starbucks gift card away at the end to a randomized winner. So stick around if you like your caffeine and you would like to wake up for the next couple days here at Starbucks. For today, we have a couple goals that we're really aiming to accomplish here. So first and foremost, we are hoping to help operators gain a clear understanding of what we do here at TipHaus, how we address the challenges that you face in tip management, in tip payouts, how that can help with things like retention, staff morale, all the fun stuff that goes along it, and the tips and the livelihood of these employees that work at your joints. Next, we are also going to be learning about how TipHaus and Earned Tip Access can improve that staff satisfaction, that operational efficiency, that legal compliance. Something that is so often overlooked, but is so very important, is that legal compliance. I've got a slide later that'll help demonstrate that, and is sad for many restaurant operators who find themselves on the wrong suit of a lawsuit there. So with that being said, if you don't know TipHaus, if this is your first introduction to us, we are one of the fastest growing daily payout platforms. We streamline and automate calculation of tips. We guarantee accuracy. We make everything simple for owners, operators, and employees alike. Our goal is to be somewhat of a set it and forget it system, meaning that you should never have to worry about it. Are your tips being calculated correctly? Are they able to be paid out accurately? Do my employees know what's going on? And do they have that level of transparency that they're looking for? So with that being said, let's touch on just a few of the challenges of the tipping industry. First and foremost, we see that distributing tips fairly among employees is a nightmare. Cash tips are a nightmare. Making runs to the banks, making sure that you're protecting against errors and fraud. All of this is a complex challenge that gets more and more complex as you have more and more locations, more and more concepts, as you're dealing with managers that may turn over and you're losing some of that inherent knowledge that was already existing, right? If you don't have these processes extremely detailed, dialed in, it can get very challenging very quickly. Next, we see a reliance on manual processes for tip management. Even if you're able to train these new managers or operators that are coming in and working with you, it is something that absolutely drains both the morale, the efficiency, the accuracy. Anytime you must manually input these numbers into an Excel sheet at the end of the day, things are going wrong, right? That's not the ideal goal. We want you out in the front of house, on the floor, chatting with guests, making sure you're providing training opportunities for your staff, all of the fun things that are not you sitting in a back office till 2 a.m. inputting 300 numbers into an Excel sheet and hoping you got it right at the end and there was no double zeroed or fat fingered keys there. Next up, we're looking at spreadsheets can't guarantee legal compliance for tip data. This is something that is massive and getting more and more prevalent as many lawyers out there are getting a little more ambulance chasey, right? They're understanding that restaurants physically cannot keep 100% compliant tip data. And if they can get a few of these employees who are disgruntled or frustrated to come with them and join on for a suit, then they can go after this restaurant, even if you're doing things right, it's pretty hard to prove you're doing it right. And these employees can make good cases. And at the very end, even if you win this lawsuit, it's still costing you a ton of time and money that you will not get back. So if we can, let's learn how we automate this whole thing, how we make sure that we have systems of record and that we keep these for at least 7 years for IRS compliance and for lawsuits. And let's learn what exactly it is that TipHaus can do. Now, when we look here, what we like to see is the word lawsuit over and over and over, right? That's always fun to see for restaurants. And of course it's not. There's themes that go along here. As these restaurants deal with more of these lawyers who are a bit more audacious, let's say, a little bit more aggressive, we're seeing a bunch of problems with it. Some of these are fraud. Some of these are accidental errors. Some of these may be neither, but they still got a lawsuit brought against them, and they may choose to settle rather than going forward and fighting and actually trying to compete with this. We've seen a number of cases with this with our existing customers where they are so thankful that TipHaus was able there to squash this lawsuit before it came up. We've had just a few examples in the last couple of months of, one was a server who had stolen well over $10,000 in a 60-day period by creating fake job codes and clocking in and collecting that money. We were able to quickly catch that and alert them, say, hey, this employee's got this suspicious behavior. Can you tell us about this employee? And of course, they countered and said, we don't have an employee by that name. We said, well, it looks like you do. Someone created a clock in through your point of sale system. And we were able to identify that, reclaim that money for that restaurant really, really quickly. We've also seen a number of issues where it's just errors, right? It's just something where the manager has made mistakes before TipHaus came in. They'll say, hey, we would love you to replicate our tip structure. Here's an Excel sheet that details the point system, how servers and bartenders split money and how they make it. And we looked at it and we said, hey, just for your own knowledge, this doesn't add up to, let's say 100, right? You're adding up to 98, meaning the house is keeping a certain portion of tips, whether intentional or incidental. That is a massive lawsuit waiting to happen. And in this particular instance, we were able to head it off. They jumped ahead of it with their employees, made some back pay to make it right, and they never had a lawsuit arise. Those are the scenarios we want to see. Always. We never want to see you end up in these news articles where we're putting a nice little box around the lawsuit word of it ending in your restaurant's name. So with that being said, how does TipHaus solve the challenges of the tip industry? Well, solution one, and what our bread and butter is we automate tip distribution based on your tip logic. We call these tip rules. And what you're going to be able to do is go in and say, hey, I'd like to share 2% from the server's alcohol sales back to the bartender to accommodate for them, right? Or we always like to pool on Fridays and Saturdays because we have an extra host who has to work to help seat the guest and maybe bust the tables, make sure everything's running smoothly. Great. Through the integrations that we have with our point of sale partners and our time and attendance partners, all of the data of your restaurant automatically pipes into TipHaus. We will look at your predefined rules that you've already stated, and we automate the whole damn thing every single time, working around the clock for you. We pick up on reconciliations and everything else of the course. If people clocked in the wrong job code, our system will automatically detect your updates and adjust it. So no more need for staying in the back office and calculating these tips. No need for employees wondering how much they're going to earn or when they're going to get that money. No need for you to run to the bank or scheduled armor car deliveries, any of that nastiness that really doesn't provide any value to the restaurant, right? It's just something you have to do to get these employees their money. What you're looking for instead is something that automates it, gets you your time back in life. Make sure your employees are happy and transparent and they understand this tip structure. And of course, that you're able to limit the amount of cash that you need, whether that's bank runs or that you have to have on hand, as that's just a liability risk at all times to keep that much cash sitting in your restaurant, whether in a safe or not. Next, we obviously will always look that we will integrate with payroll systems, with point of sale systems. We make sure that all of the data that we're bringing in is made to make your restaurant's operators, owners, payroll, accounting, HR teams' lives easier. We're always looking to make sure that we can automate everything that's coming in from the point of sale and time and attendance, and that we give you a pre-built template file to export immediately to payroll. And we see this all the time. There'll be some testimonials I'll share here at the end. But what we typically see is 8 to 10 hours minimum saved per month per rooftop of a restaurant when you are able to automate this entire piece. I have seen a number of times where payroll will take someone a full day, maybe 2 days, depending on how many locations they have it. After TipHaus was initiated, we've taken that down to about 15 minutes. And last but certainly not least is we eliminate all the manual data entry and reconciliation. So anytime that employees forgot to clock out. They clocked in the wrong job code. A check had to be comped. Anything of that nature that actually all of those impact that tip pool. We take care of all of it. You just adjust it in your point of sale or in your time and attendance platform like you would for payroll anyways. Our system scans every 15 minutes to see if there have been adjustments. And then, of course, we will rectify that immediately in the system. It's all automated. It'll let you know what has occurred and what we think has happened. And then you're ready to roll for payroll. So with that being said, that's a lot of words coming out of my mouth. Let's instead look at what our software can actually do, right? Let's see what we have. And so let me make sure my screen is sharing accurately here. I do believe we are. So what you are looking at right now is the home screen of TipHaus. This will have all the tip data you care about and none of the tip data you don't. So if you want to get rid of any of these pieces and limit it to just the view that matters the most to your role, you can customize it for your login. So your manager may see something, assistant manager, general manager, all can have the views that matter to them based on the metrics that you're looking to accomplish. Next, we will look quickly at what a breakdown page looks like. And just for everyone's knowledge, the breakdown page is where you can see exactly what's going on in real time. So if we wanted to look at, how much was brought in tips yesterday at each of our 3 locations, we can do that, or we can drill into any one of these locations. And we can see who was bringing in tips, what were their sales. This is where our magic starts working, and I'll walk you through that very briefly in just a moment. I do want to make sure we cover earned tip access in depth. And then over here, you'll see the take-home column. This, if you had to boil TipHaus down to one column of time savings, it's right here. This is the taxable line item that you owe every single one of your staff members to make them whole on tips and to make sure that every single penny that came into your restaurant as a tip has left as a tip back to your employees. The house can never keep tips, gratuities, service charges, anything of that nature, right? So we want to make sure we're always getting that back out to them. And with that, you'll see that all of these will always add up and make everything nice and clean and easy. You can always drill into these to see the exact sales that were generated, how they're earning money or losing money to the tip, the tip pools or the tip shares, depending on that logic. And real quickly, I'll run us through a little bit of that logic. I am going to move pretty quickly, so please ask questions if you have them. But I do want to make sure that we get to see what this looks like before we dive into the earned tip access, because this is the foundation for how to make sure you're paying your staff out appropriately. So we mentioned a rule earlier that was, okay, let's take a little bit of the money from our servers on the alcohol sales they make and kick that back to the bartender, right? What we're aiming to accomplish here is the bartender, if they're not receiving anything from the drinks on the floor, maybe they slow down that service, right? And maybe what they're saying is, hey, I only get tips from the guest at my bar top. So the servers on the floor and that are waiting at the well over here, maybe they're going to have to wait another couple minutes because I need to make sure I take care of my guests at the bar top. Obviously, that is not a great solution for you trying to make sure that your guests are thrilled and happy with your service. So what we could do is we're going to take 2% of the sales of only beer, liquor, and wine here. And we're going to collect this from the servers and we're going to distribute this back to the bartenders. Now, when I hit submit here, we'll get a nice little logical rule that pops up in a summary. And here's what we are saying. Okay, we want to make sure that we're taking 2% of beer, liquor, and wine from the servers and giving it back to the bartender as a tip. Perfect. That looks great. We hit submit, and now that is live. And now, just for one additional example, if we wanted to create a pool, and we can name this, the full house pool. And this is going to include everyone that's actually working in the restaurant. We can include all of these items. Do we want to distribute and make sure that we're collecting tips from the entire day? Do we want to collect it from the shift? Or do we actually only want to collect it in that exact moment and distribute it to the people that were on the clock at the same time? In this case, we'll do that. That's time of sale, and it is our most popular and a patented tip distribution frequency. Really ensures the most fair possible tip distribution. For most restaurants, there are extenuating circumstances. Who's going to participate in this? Well, the bartender, the dishwasher, the expo, the host, and we will put in the server. We won't include room service or valet into this. And next, we'll just say, our bartender's most valuable. So for every $10 that's brought in, they should earn 5 of them, say. And then we may say our host is worth a little bit, our server's worth quite a bit. And we get something like this, and we'll say, that looks about right. For every $10 that's being brought in, this is how we want to distribute it, right? We hit that next, same thing. We'll get a beautiful summary, and now we hit submit, and we're off to the races. Now, All of that is fun. That is where, when we jump back into the breakdown, you'll see this amazing logic start working immediately. All sales that'll be coming in, you'll start to see that there'll be tip pooling and tip sharing on them, and we will get the total number that they're owed at the end when all said and done. However, that's just the beginning. We can always export this straight out to payroll. We generate these files for you automatically based on your payroll provider. So it's a one-click import and you can be off to the races. However, I do want to touch on our Earn Tip Access program. What does Earn Tip Access mean? So long ago, when we were just a tip calculator, the number one request from customers we got was saying, hey, you guys are calculating the tips. That's amazing. They're working. This looks great. But we still have to figure out ways to pay our staff this. In the old days, when I was still at Chili's and I was in high school, I was working there as a server and eventually a bartender, we'd walk out with cash every single night, right? Cash was still prevalent in the economy and it was being moved around in restaurants often. And of course, COVID hadn't happened yet, which was really kind of the final nail in the coffin for cash. Now we're seeing 90 to 97% credit card. All sales and tips are left on credit cards, meaning, of course, operators don't have cash on hand to hand out at the end of the shift. Do you keep it? Do you get armored car deliveries? Or do you, more commonly than not, just tell your employees, hey guys, tips are now going to be put onto paychecks. You may have to wait 1 to 2 weeks to get it because it'll be on the next paycheck available. And that really, to put it bluntly, from a server's perspective, kind of sucks, right? Like, one of the biggest pieces is you lose that reward and that gratification of the tips, and you start to feel like it's disassociated with the work done on the tables and that you're providing amazing service to these guests to earn. So employees will always expect tip payments in a timely manner. And if you're waiting 2 weeks, you are losing employees. This can lead to a lot of turnover. And in fact, when we see restaurants enable ETA, we've had quite a few case studies recently where we've seen turnover decrease by as much as 32% in these current customers. So from this page, it looks a lot like our breakdown page, right? You say, okay, well, this is kind of the same thing. I see the take home, the amount eligible to pay out. What this is doing is every single employee here, when they enroll in our Earn Tip Access program, you will see this go to a green dot, and it will have either an HD or an HM next to it. And that signifies which of the card programs they are utilizing. This is a demo account and not hooked up to a real bank account, which is why you'll see all of these red. But it is a very important note that the Earn Tip Access program from TipHaus, where we really believed and dove deep, is a simple prepaid card does not suffice. That is often not being able to be used in a lot of restaurants and places that require it. It doesn't have a PIN associated, so you get declined at a lot of unique locations. Really, all you're doing is passing the burden of you getting cash to each one of your employees. Now, they got to take a prepaid card to an ATM, withdraw cash, and that's just not a fun or ideal solution for anyone. So TipHaus was able to work with several chartered banks here in the US. We've worked in partnering with Visa and MasterCard. And really what we sought out to do was exactly this. We said, hey, we want to make sure every employee has the choice of how they receive this money. It can be on a paycheck if that's what they choose. They say, hey, we want to keep it on a paycheck. Great. They don't have to enroll in Earn Tip Access. Or they might say, hey, I really want my cash digitally. I want to make sure that y'all are putting in my accounts on a daily basis, a day after the shift. But my biggest concern is that I don't want to go get another card. I don't want to get a prepaid card. I don't want to get an instant certified debit card. I don't want any of that. Great. So what we are able to do is actually deposit that directly into your existing debit account. If that's Bank of America, Wells Fargo, whatever it might be, we can actually move that money directly into those accounts. And then similarly, we know the restaurant industry is often the beginning of many people's career. So if you have someone who is underbanked or unbanked, an 18-year-old who just got a job their first month into college, and they say, hey, I don't have a bank account that's not linked to my parents, no problem in that either. We can issue checking accounts, certified credit cards, debit cards, things of that nature. And so either option that you would like to use, whether it's your existing debit card and something that you already have bank accounts and credits established through, or if you would like to enroll in our House Money program, which is backed by an FDIC insured bank here in the United States, we can issue you either or both, and employees can swap between the two completely for free. If you want to try one, you find, hey, this isn't for me, I like it better on my own card, great, you can always move right back. We do have credit building programs, things to built in to really look out for that financial prosperity and the security of their futures with their working with their money. As simple as all of that sounds, it's even easier just to pay out. You make it to this screen, this initiate payout button, big and blue at the top for a reason. When you click this, it's going to break down a full detail of exactly how much money is about to be debited from your restaurant's operating account, and it will be paid to each one of these individuals in the amount that you see. Once you click this initiate payout for $565, $565 is pulled and immediately paid out to those staff. No waiting, no guessing. I can't say the word instant, as instant is a legally protected term, but typically it will be there within 15 seconds. Sometimes, depending on how the banking rails and networks are moving and how much traffic is going, it can take up to a couple minutes. But all in, regardless, it will be there the morning, typically before the service staff wakes up at your restaurant, as they aren't known always for being early risers, depending on your restaurant and what you do. With that being said, I would love to jump back on over right into our deck and cover just a few more items. A few key benefits we constantly see as we go through these items is a significantly reduced manual work. We can save incredible amounts of time. I've got a screen coming up next that some of the restaurants and the amount of time they save is unbelievable. You will see how technical their tip processes were, how much time they had to dedicate to that, and how much time they've reclaimed now that they've moved back into TipHaus. We, of course, simplify your compliance management. We reduce your liability risk. If you saw as we were working through the dashboard inside of TipHaus there, at every level, you can drill into what was sold on each check, who was part of the tip pool, who got tip shared. You can drill onto each individual check and say, okay, for these 2 burgers and these 2 beers that were sold, who actually benefited from this? Where did this tip go? And we will break it down to the 10,000th of a penny for you. We can additionally, beyond that, ensure that your employees are getting this money, of course, right? We're always looking to increase that operational efficiency. Time spent running to the bank, time scheduling card deliveries or cash deliveries, time spent dropping cash off at the bank after you've already had too much for the week. All of those are not spent making sure that your restaurant is running well, that your organization is operating cleverly, that you're checking in on inventory and back office management, all of these fun things that are far more beneficial to the business than looking in an Excel sheet or talking to your staff members about how they earned this amount of tips compared to everyone else. Next, we do have enhanced employee retention and satisfaction. We do offer a completely free mobile employee app for all TipHaus employees. So every employee at your restaurant will automatically have the ability to see how much they've earned, how much they're expected, how much they worked. We'll provide nice, clean-cut little sets of data that show them their best shifts to work, that show them exactly how much they contributed to the tip pool and how much they pulled out. And as always, it will always display every tip rule and tip logic that occurs and applies to them. So what that means is in all 50 states, by law, a loosely held law, as I know a lot of restaurants don't operate by this, but you must convey to your staff exactly what tip policies you have in place and how it will impact them. Typically, and I think 46 of those states, you must put that in writing. So when the employees download the app and use our app, it is always available for them. You're always legally compliant, even if you change those tip policies. Last, it is scalable for all business sizes. We work with everything from small 1-unit coffee stands throughout the United States, all the way up to some of the largest enterprise groups and the largest hospitality chains in the entire world. Our system is designed with info security compliance built in. It is designed with roles and permissions for each level of your staff so that they can accommodate and find what they need. And of course, it is designed to save everyone through that chain, from the employees to the managers on site to the operations team sitting in a corporate office. Every single one of those team members should save a ton of time and money for your organization. A couple of those success stories I referenced and some really fun customers that we love a lot and we love to give some shout outs to. So Broadway Hospitality Group, they are saving 250 hours per month. They've improved their staff retention, as they let us know, with the digital daily tip payouts. So this earned tip access program, since their staff can now actually receive these tips, you're associating their hard work with that money received quickly and easily. Staff are staying longer. Your retention rates are going up. Your training costs are going down. Your customer experience is increasing, right? Because these employees have more time there. They have these regulars. They understand your menu and your customizations, all of the fun stuff along with it. Country Boy Brewing, we filmed on their site for a great crew over there. They save $4,000 in man hours every single month. And they're a crew that I think did it so well in that they really thought a lot about their tip logic. Who should we be rewarding? How should we get that money to them? All of these fun things. But the more specific you get on those, if you're manually entering that, that's time that you have to take making sure that that gets entered correctly, that gets audited accurately, all of the fun stuff that goes into it. They were able to take all of that time back simply by instituting TipHaus. And then, of course, we've got Urban Egg talking about those bank runs, talking about what you have to do. Urban Egg had to make 80 plus bank trips every single month. They have 10 locations. Each one is averaging 2 per week. to make sure that they could pay their staff. They really believed in the value that staff should have that money. They should have access to it. They didn't want to put it on the paychecks. They were doing great at that. But problem there is that's passing that work on to your management team. And so now Urban Ag saves 80 plus bank trips every single month. And that's an amazing stat. And it really, really makes us happy to see our system, really get these operators, these managers, these owners back in front of the customers, working with the staff, providing training, looking for additional ways to improve their business rather than just a monotony of daily tip entrance and cash payments, right? A couple great quotes I won't read in depth, but Jackie Hager over at the Riverside Hotel, unbelievable owner and controller. I believe that's out of Idaho up in the Northwest. And it's completely transformed how they manage tips. They don't deal with cash tip outs. The transparency for everyone is one of her favorite pieces, that all the staff's on the same page suddenly. The level of accuracy that we track everything, that you can always click into each of these and dive deeper if you have questions or if you think something's looking funky. And now the managers are saving 40 hours a month on tip calculations. And so far she has had 0 complaints about tips, whereas before she had 4 to 5. Jackie's an incredible individual. She also has implemented our QR tipping software, which I'll cover here in just a moment. But they were one of the early pilots for that, last year, and we're very, very excited about it. Next, we have the Gray Dog, one of our first ever Earn Tip Access customers, actually. So Gray Dog is a fabulous brunch spot located out of New York City. I believe they have 4 or 5 locations up there. And we have TipHaus has revolutionized the operations, surpassing, the cumbersome manual calculations and saving about $1,200 in wages and fees every month since they enrolled. They have roughly 100 tipped employees that trust our accuracy, trust the system, and trust the ability to be paid out. We have boosted employee retention by nearly 30% across all 5 Gray Dog locations. So pretty incredible. And if I had just read the quote in full, I would have known they had 5 and not 4 locations. So that's always fun to see with it. But I love Johnny Condren over there at Gray Dog. And if you're ever in New York City, go grab some brunch there. It is an exceptional location. Next, as I mentioned, I do want to touch on QR code tipping. It's a fabulous little tool that sits aside and works well with things like ETA. QR tipping is working for groups that, where cash used to be prevalent, where there is no card or check transfer. So think of groups like valets, like bellhops, like cleaning crews, like catering events, where maybe the check has already been taken care of, or there is no expectation of an actual payment. It's just for a tip. As cash has faded from the wayside, so has their ability to earn tips. And again, that's leading to massive employee turnover. We're looking for solutions on that. So TipHaus has rolled now completely available to the entirety of the public and all of our customers, whereas before it was only available to a limited few on the enterprise side. We are rolling out QR tipping. So if you're interested in that, please scan a QR code, reach out to us. We're always happy to chat with you, and we would love to show you what we can do with this and how that ties directly into Earn Tip Access. And you're able to pay those tips out to your staff and get that instant gratification feel for your employees. Next up, we do have a fabulous guest on our next webinar. You'll see here it is Thursday, July 17th. You can scan there to register right now. If you've got a phone on you, please do. This is with Brigantine, a seafood and oyster bar. They are an exceptional group of operators, and it's their playbook for modern tip management and digital tip. So you get to hear from a real multi-unit group exactly how they are utilizing TipHaus in each one of their locations, how they thought about it to go through, what the challenges they were facing. If this is employee, we're having trouble keeping hosts on staff. And so here's how we modified our tip logic to ensure that we're able to keep those staff members. That great crew over there. This will be a fabulous webinar. If you're available, please register and join us on that date. And now, without further ado, there is another QR code here for you if you're interested in an ROI calculator so you can see how much you can save. But while that is happening and while you're scanning that, I'm going to scroll holy questions. We do have quite a few. I'm going to start answering these for you all. So I see here that I am in South Carolina, just started using TipHaus as the payroll manager for a restaurant customer of mine. Working to be knowledgeable and comfortable with the site. Thank you for that is an amazing thing. Not a question, just praise. And I love that, Krista. Thank you very much. I was getting anxious as I saw the line of text there where we were going with it, but I love it. Thank you very much. And you're very welcome for the seminars. Next up, I see here we've got Jenna Young. How can users get signed up for Earn Tip Access? Great question. If we're talking users as in the employees at the restaurant, the very first step is actually for the manager to enroll. And it's a quick process. Typically, it's going to take 5 to 10 minutes, and you can always schedule a call with our amazing award-winning customer success team. They are exceptional if you're ever in the client dash or the actual TipHaus platform. And the bottom right, there's a live chat button that will take you to a real person. That person will be happy to screen share with you in 30 seconds or less and say, hey, tell me what you're trying to do. You want to enroll in Earn Tip Access. Here's the page. Here's how we can enroll. From there, once you have enrolled as a business and all you're doing is giving us permission to debit a bank account to pull the amount of money that you're looking to pay your staff members, right? So one-to-one, if you're pulling $500 to pay your staff members, we will debit $500 from you and pay in the correct increments to each staff member. Once the business has enrolled, employees can enroll in as little as, I'd say, 15 seconds for the House Direct option. Reminder, the House Direct option is your existing bank profile card. So if you've got a debit card at Wells Fargo, Chase, Bank of America, whatever it might be, all you're going to do is enter your first and last name, the debit card 16 digits, your CVV, and you're enrolled. You're off to the races. It's all done right from your employee TipHaus app that you already have to check your tips. If you are enrolling in house money, I'd say that takes about 2 minutes because we are actually issuing you a verified FDIC insured bank account, not just a simple pay card. We do verify that through the classic banking regulations called Know Your Customer. And this is just to protect everyone from things like money laundering and such, but it takes about 2 minutes. You're just going to enter your information. The bank will verify that they have a record of you, an address, and then you will be issued a digital card instantly that you can immediately plug into things like Apple Pay or Google Pay and start using online. And your physical card typically arrives within 3 to 5 business days for you to begin spending and keeping your wallet. Next up, I see something here with Alexa Cone. How do employees get set up with the TipHaus app? Great question. So for employees, the easiest method is just to go to my.tiphaus.com. And what that is going to do is populate the login screen for the employee app. It will also prompt them then to download it so that it performs like an app on their phone as they're used to. But it is my.tiphaus.com. And all they're going to do is they're going to log in with an email that is registered in the point of sale. You as a manager, if, for example, when you set up, your point of sale, whether it be Toast or an Oracle or Square, whatever it might be, if you did not ask employees to put in their real email, it will generally create a spoof, such as, Toast ID user 734 at toast.com, right? It'll create something for you. You can always adjust that within the TipHaus platform. We do offer bulk email sends as well, where you can just send an email directly to your employee. They click on it, they update their email, they enter and create a password, and then they have it. They're on the app. If the email's already pre-populated, it'll take them about 15 seconds. If they're not, about 60 seconds to get on. But for one last time, as I did not have that written on the screen, that is my.tiphaus.com. And next up, what happens if someone forgets to clock in? Great question, Jenna. So if someone forgets to clock in, our system has a number of different opportunities for this. Our classic recommendation is you simply go into your time and attendance or your point of sale, wherever your employees typically clock in, and you adjust that as normal. You're going to have to do this for payroll anyways, right? You're going to want to make sure that payroll's got an accurate record of when people are working. Once you update that in that system, TipHaus will automatically pick up on that. We will recalculate the entire tip pool. We will recalculate everything to ensure all staff members are paid accordingly. If for some reason or any reason whatsoever you cannot update it in the point of sale or time and attendance, TipHaus also has that availability where you can go in and manually update this employee and say, hey, they worked from this hour to this hour. And same thing, TipHaus now will pick up on that. And we will say, okay, where this tip pool was just 4 employees, maybe $100, and they were going to make it split equally to $25 for each one of the 4 employees. Now there's a 5th that's been added. So what it will do is it'll recalculate and say, okay, each employee now earns only $20 because there's 5 employees splitting that $100, not 4 splitting it, right? So we will always reconcile automatically. Next up, Alexa, again, do we need to be on Earn Tip Access to use QR code tip? Oh, great question. No, you do not need to be using Earn Tip Access. We strongly recommend it because once you are bringing those tips in via the QR code, you want to get that money to them as quickly as possible. However, you don't have to. However, I will say is you must go through the same process as though you were going to be on Earn Tip Access. And what I mean by that is you're going to have to link a bank account, because that is where if you're not paying out the tips through us, we need to know where to get that money. Say someone leaves your bellhop or your valet a $20 tip. that money needs to get routed into your bank account so you can pay them, right? If we're not paying it out via the Earn Tip Access program, you're going to have to. And so therefore, you're already going through the same processes and steps. Again, Earn Tip Access, as always, it's employee choice. Once the managers say, hey, yes, our restaurant or our location would like to use Earn Tip Access, all you must do from that point is allow each employee to choose. Everyone in their own app, they can choose between House Money, House Direct, or they can take no action, in which case you're just going to pay them as you usually do on their paycheck. But each employee will always have that own choice. We don't like forcing managers or making mandated rollouts, right? Whereas oftentimes a new card program is brought in and every employee must enroll, and this is the only way to get paid from here forth, and you're going to be going to the ATM every day to get cash instead of us doing it. That doesn't work for the restaurant industry. It doesn't work well. So we wanted to make sure that they had choices. We can issue you a bank account and a subsequent physical and digital card. You can use your existing physical card, whatever bank that may be, or you can take no action and keep getting your cash or your tips on paychecks. So both of those can work really, really well. Next up, are the employees getting the net amount or gross amount of the tip? How are payroll taxes getting accounted for? Great question. So what we will always work on is, this is why our export and the take home is the pre-tax item. So they will be getting this pre-taxes. The employees in the employee app, it's one of the things that we preach so much, is you being able to see that value, and therefore you can create estimated tips. A great piece about the Earn Tip Access program, and I don't know if it was apparent when I saw it, but let me show you this real quick. I'm going to pivot away from that. So in the Earn Tip Access program, this is the entirety, right, that's going out to them. So they're still going to pay taxes on this. In certain states, tip credit states, like largely in the South, that $2.13 an hour they're allowed to make below minimum wage. That is just going to be eaten up by taxes, right? The tips are going to be reported either way. They must be for payroll. However, what we see some of our more savvy customers do is we allow what's called a pillow amount or a reserve amount. And a number of reasons we do this. One, it's so that if you're paying out, your employee earns $100, maybe you only want to pay them $90. You want to keep a little in reserve because you have clock in, clock out issues. And you so often see that employees forgot to clock out, and you're going to need to make some reconciliation. Our system does do that. Even if you pay at 100%, we will deduct it from the next one as needed if they forgot to clock out and they got overpaid, whatever it might be. Our system will take care of all of that through Earn Tip Access as it is. However, what we see some of our savvy groups do is they want to initiate payout, and you'll see here, this group and this organization has it reserved at 30%, meaning only 70% of their tips get paid out. The 30% will go on their paycheck. And why they do this is they'll work with their servers and they say, hey team, we want to understand your tax classification, how much you're going to be expected to pay. The tips that come through onto your Earn Tip Access cards or into your existing bank account, you can use those as you wish. But tips that are coming from the paycheck and your wages, you should set aside for taxes. And so I know Country Boy Brewing, who we saw in those testimonials, has been fabulous. They ran a tax workshop, I think, for several of their staff members. It was exceptional. And they're really always out there looking out for those employees. So several great options that you can look for with that. And now I will jump back on into our Q&A tab here. I see one from Les Days. I'm pronouncing that horribly, I'm certain, so I apologize for that. But what if my employee doesn't have a bank account? Oh, great question. And that is exactly where the House Money program comes in. So as a reminder, House Direct is your existing bank account. House Money is a bank account that we issue for you. It'll come with a checkings routing number, so you can do routing and transfers. It is a fully fledged bank account. It comes with a separate mobile app that is a little more secure, as it is actually managing the money and moving it. You can do financial planning in there. You can transfer in and out. You can find free ATMs to access. You can do all sorts of things. It is also worth noting that it is a credit building card. It is designed specifically to report to your credit agency. It operates like a debit card, so it gets paid off every single transaction. You can only spend what you have available. But we actually did go out and specifically partner just to ensure that we could build credit, as that was our number one most requested feature, was our employees of restaurants saying, hey, my credit's not very great, and I have a lot of trouble getting car loans or getting approved for apartments. So we typically see 30 to 50 basis points improved on their credit score, I think within 6 months. I'm going to put a massive asterisk on there because I don't have that number in front of me, but I believe that is what we have seen. And with that, I believe we are at time and we are wrapped. I don't see any additional questions. So with that, I am going to thank you all very, very much. We do always offer a very special offer here, where if you book a demo in 48 hours using this QR code, you will get a free month instead of just a free 1 week or 2 week trial, pending on your classifications. Look out for the recording and the follow-up email containing all of this information for you. And last but not least, I do believe we will have a Starbucks card giveaway winner. And let me pop open into my notes here to see who we have. And we have, Les Days from 294. Thank you for all of your amazing questions there. I hope I have not butchered your name horribly, though I'm certain I have, and I do apologize. You can shoot me a text after you get the Starbucks gift card if you would like and yell at me over it. And thank you very, very much. I really, really appreciate everyone for jumping on. That is what we have here for you today. As a reminder, please jump on in the future for our upcoming webinars. But I cannot thank you all enough for jumping in with us today and asking some amazing questions. If you have anything else you would like to know, please, you can always reach out to us at marketing@tiphaus.com. You can reach directly me at kirk@tiphaus.com, or you can just jump onto our website and go through any of the forms there. Thank you all very much. I appreciate you all, and take care.